Hello, this is how to install Arch Linux with KDE Plasma 6. In a QEMU Virt Manager virtual machine, we are going to use the text user interface installer archinstall. This is the Wikipedia page for Arch Linux. The homepage is archlinux.org. Let's download the ISO. I'm going to use the BitTorrent URL. For this, I have installed the Qt BitTorrent client QBitTorrent. Let's use the magnet link, which uses a protocol handler, whereas the torrent will just download a file with an extension torrent. It's going to put the file into /downloads. The download is going to be really fast because my internet connection is really fast, and this ISO is particularly well peered and seeded. Download speed 41 megabytes per second times 8. That's 320 megabits per second. The file has finished downloading. Let's open the location. I'm going to move the file out of here towards the directory that is available to Virt Manager. And now we can start installing. Let's actually stop seeding the file. And we can even delete the entire torrent with files and everything. And we can exit QBitTorrent. Let's create the virtual machine. We're going to start the virtualization software virtual machine manager, virt-manager, file, new virtual machine, ISO, browse, archlinux.iso. It detects the operating system correctly. 10 gigabytes of random access memory, 14 CPU threads, vCPUs, forward. Arch Linux, customize, finish. Actually, we don't need to customize anything. The template for the virtual machine is correct. So it uses the newest chipset, BIOS, not UEFI. Maybe we could improve this, but it's benign. If we did not change anything in here, everything would be the same. It uses the fastest possible disk bus for the virtual hard disk, which is virt.io. The fastest possible network interface card, virt.io. So if you don't change anything in here, it's okay. The virtual hard disk is being created, the file with extension qcow2. We're booting from the DVD drive. Okay, this is a text mode login. It's in live CD mode, but it's just showing the terminal, not a graphical user interface. Okay, we have the option of installing Arch Linux from the command line using the text user interface installer named archinstall. We are already the user root, so we can do anything. And we'll need to follow all of these pages through the installer. Install language English, locales English US, UTF-8. Mirrors and repositories. How do we exit here? This configuration, partitioning, best effort, default partition layout, vert IO block device, PTRFS is the default. I'm going to go with ext4. Would you like to create a separate partition for home? No. A separate partition for the /boot directory, FAT32, 1 gigabyte. I don't want LVM or disk encryption. Back. Swap on ZRAM. Bootloader grub grub. Hostname Arch Linux. Root password. Hopefully we can survive without a root password. User account. Add a user. Administrator. Should administrator be super user sudo? Yes. Confirm and exit. Profile, type, desktop. We want KDE Plasma 6. KDE Plasma, Plasma Workspace, Plasma Meta, and some graphical user interface apps. File Manager Dolphin, the text editor Kate, the terminal emulator console. Looks okay. Greeter SDDM, the desktop manager. Sounds okay. Audio. We want the latest and greatest, which is PipeWire. Network configuration. Use Network Manager because it's necessary for KDE Plasma. Additional packages. I don't need additional packages. Time zone. Let's use US Eastern. And except the mirrors and repositories, everything is configured correctly. I'm not sure if by default mirrors and repositories will use a CDN that's fastest and the best option. We'll see when we'll install packages. If the download speed is too small, then we'll configure the Pacman package repositories. Okay, install. Would you like to continue? Yes. It's formatting the virtual hard disk, creating a partition table, creating two partitions. Then it starts installing many packages. Linux firmware, the GCC C and C++ compiler, Perl 5, 162 packages in total will be downloaded and installed. Okay, and then it's creating the initial RAM disk. Is still handling the RAM disk. Probably it's going to write the bootloader. At this point where it does grub minus install, it has created the bootloader. Additional packages are being downloaded. The download speed seems okay. So maybe that was the correct decision to not change anything in the settings about the binary package repositories. Many X libraries, the media player VLC, Qt6 modules, KDE software and libraries, 413 binary packages, but the KDE binary packages are usually really small, but they're a bunch. Okay, so that was extremely fast because the downloading of packages was really fast, and then extracting is fast also. What would you like to do next? We want to just reboot the system. We don't want the live CD any longer. We don't need the ISO and the DVD drive. Reboot system. Let's make sure that the ISO is no longer in the DVD ROM drive. It's not there. It has shown the grub bootloader. Now it's showing SDDM with a wrong theme. Let's log into Plasma and see if the SSH server is installed and running. From this point on, I have my own instructions. So I have my wiki page and mariusp.github.io. And in here, I go to how to install Linux. I search for Arch Linux, this one, or Endeavor OS. So let's prove all of the things that are written down there. Console should be installed. It is. Can I become the user root? Even though the user root does not have a password, yes, I can. Let's see if SSHD is installed. Says that it's installed, the binary package for the OpenSSH server, but then the systemd service is not enabled. Systemctl enable now SSHD. Okay, and now we can just stop using the graphical user interface. Log out. Let's find the IPv4 address of the machine. Ends with 216. Let's connect to the Arch machine using the SSH client. SSH username. Yes, I want to continue. Password. And I'm the user root. Okay. Why do I want to not use the virtualization software's console, graphical user interface console, which is this thing, graphical console spice? Because this is not fast enough for my use case. If I resize the virtualization software window, it will not tell the operating system Arch Linux to resize, to change the resolution. Maybe copy paste of text doesn't work. So speed, resize, copy paste of text. For that, I want to go towards the RDP server xrdp. Let's see if that's possible now that the KDE Plasma 6 X11 session in SDDM is missing by default. This is the wiki page for the RDP, how to install it. So we need to get a manager for AUR, or we need to build two AUR packages ourselves using the git clone make package. But first of all, we'll want to enable the X11 session in KDE Plasma 6. And since this change has happened just recently, it should be in the news before you install updates to all of your install binary packages in Arch Linux. You should visit archlinux.org, which is the official Arch Linux website, and see if there's any important news like this one, where you will get a black screen if you don't install this package, or installing Linux firmware requires manual intervention. This news where many people that have Arch Linux installed will need to do a manual intervention are only happen rarely, probably twice per year or even less. So just get into the habit of visiting the homepage before installing a massive number of updates and doing, for instance, pacman space minus uppercase s lowercase y u. So install all updates. Similar to the Debian Linux family command line apt update. Okay, and this is the article. Says that now there are two binary packages for the KDE Plasma window manager, which is called KWin. There's one for KWin Wayland, another one for KWin X11. And in general, you should just install Plasma X11 session if you want to have the KDE Plasma 6 X11 session in SDDM, the desktop manager. So let's see if this is enough. Let's see how to install that package. On Google, I searched for Arch Wiki Rosetta. Goes to the article for pacman/Rosetta. This one, which is a table for various Linux operating system families, such as Debian, Ubuntu, Red Hat, Fedora, Arch. This is the way you would use the command line installer of binary packages. So pacman, dnf, and apt. For installing a package, apt install and pacman minus uppercase s. So let's see that. Copy paste works because the web browser is on the host operating system, which is Ubuntu 25.04, and console has a connection to the Arch Linux via the SSH client. So the fact that copy paste works is important for me. the fact that I can use the web browser on the host machine is also important for me. It will install KWin X11, which is a X window manager, whereas the other package kwin-wayland is a Wayland compositor. And now we should check the SDDM and see if we have the second session, which is Plasma X11, and we do. We could even enter once Plasma X11 just to make sure it works correctly, as expected. Let's check that we're inside the X11 session. System settings, about the system, and says graphics platform X11, not Wayland. Again, we'll disconnect. And now the rest of my wiki page should work correctly. Let's do these things. We're going to install enough packages such that we can build AUR software. We're interested into these two AUR packages, xrdp and xrdp. Eventually we can search and see if these packages are now part of the official Arch Linux binary package repositories. So let's search for xrdp. Nothing, so we'll need to indeed use AUR. Let's build first the AUR YAY, which is a AUR manager. And then we'll use that to build the other two AUR packages. Let's see if the instructions just work as they are. We want to not be the user root. Control D. In the home directory, we create a directory ~work/AUR. Hopefully YAY is still maintained. Make package. It's using Golang, the Go programming language. And that's it. The package has been created, which is YAY version CPU architecture pkg.tar.z standard. Let's see if this thing works. It's installing too many packages. It's also installing the package with debug symbols that have been split from the executable YAY. But this thing is benign. Okay, so now we have YAY. Let's look a bit at the Arch Linux wiki page for xrdp. Says that xrdp is from the AUR, and we also want xorg xrdp. Okay, so let's follow the instructions using the package manager for AUR YAY. We download, git clone, build, install xrdp. In here it offers a ton of options, we could install both xrdp and xrdp at once, but let's do it one by one. So I'm just going to select this option, which is option 1, AUR/xrdp, nothing else. 1, enter. Packages to clean build. Okay. Diff to show none. Remove make dependencies after install, no. Keeping the defaults. It's installing dependencies, the image library, the net-wide assembler. Check is probably for runtime, for tests. So this was downloading probably a release source code tarball, this one xrdp 0.10.4.1.r.dgz, extracting it and then running the GNU toolchain, autoconf, automake, etc. And then configure. Now it's building. Most of the source code is C. It's also running the tests, which is a bit much. But if they're fast, it's okay. And we're at completion. The binary package for xrdp has been created. Proceed with installation, yes. And now we're going to install the xorg xrdp. Packages to install, option 1, AUR/xorg xrdp. Packages to clean build A, diffs to show none. And the same thing, it's downloading a release tarball, installing needed dependencies, binary packages, and then running the GNU auto tools toolchain. Building. An ASM is used for assembler source code. So the binary xorg xrdp package has been created. We're going to install. And now we have all that is needed in order to, all of the software needed in order to connect to the Arch Linux virtual machine using the protocol RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol. First of all, let's enable the systemd services. And last time I tried, I also needed this, which is allow connections from outside of this computer or outside of the virtual machine towards the X server running there. Okay, so we need to create this file. What editors do we have in here? . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . allowed underscore users space equals space anybody. Control X, Y, enter. Okay, and now we're going to start KDE Plasma, not using a desktop manager, not using SDDM, not using the session, but using the older way with start X and xinitrc. Let's see if the executables continue to exist. So we need this thing, Plasma dbus run session if needed. Let's not be the user root. Plasma dbus, no such thing. Yeah, it's not in the path environment variable, it's in /usr/lib. It's an executable, but it's in /usr/lib. And then let's see if start plasma x11 exists. So start plasma minus x11. Everything seems to be there. I'm the user administrator. Let's create the file tilde/xinitrc. 2 lines. Drilling new line. Control X, Y, save. Okay, and now we can try connecting to the virtual machine. We're connected via SSH. In one tab in the terminal emulator console, we're going to open a second tab. And in here, we're going to connect using the RDP remote desktop protocol client, xrdp. Let's see how to use that at the end of the page. This long command line. So we'll take the sound from the virtual machine and play it back on the host machine. If we resize the xrdp window, that will tell KDE Plasma running inside the virtual machine to change its resolution. Best possible performance and features of the remote desktop protocol. And initial resolution. If this resolution is possible, this is what's going to be the initial resolution. If not, because dynamic resolution is enabled, it's going to shrink from this resolution to what's actually available on the desktop. The IPv4 address should end with 216. The username and the executable xrdp. If you're on x11, if you're using Wayland, then there's another executable which is called WL_FreeRDP. And then you might also have FreeRDP2 or FreeRDP3. FreeRDP currently is in the process of migrating from FreeRDP version 2 to FreeRDP version 3. So there will be a translation period. I did not copy the first word, xFreeRDP, the first character. Says that it has never connected to this computer before. Do you trust the certificate? Why? It's showing the something similar to Desktop Manager, but implemented inside the xrdp, xorg xrdp, RDP server, x11 server. Make sure that in the first combo box, you have xorg selected. It's the default option. If it's not the default option, you can edit a configuration file to move xorg on the very first position. Whoa. That was interesting. It does work. I'm not exactly sure what was that glitch. So it's working, it's fast. Copy paste of text works. If I resize the window of this window, the FreeRDP window, it's going to change the resolution inside KDE Plasma. There's no stretching, no scaling, no nothing. The image is really clear, crisp. It's really fast in updating, the responsiveness is great. It's as native quality. This is what I use to connect to all of my virtual machines, whether they are Windows or Linux or something else. I always use RDP if there's an RDP server available for the operating system inside the virtual machine. If not, I'm going to use VNC server or preferably the Tiger VNC server. So the RDP server is available by default on Windows Server and Client. It's available on FreeBSD and available on most Linux operating systems. If that does not work, the other option is VNC. And Tiger VNC is available on a ton of operating systems, not only Linux, including Oracle Solaris, NetBSD, OpenBSD, FreeBSD, etc. Can also be installed on Windows. Okay, so everything's extremely fast, which means that I can use the virtual machine for work, for development tasks. The virtual machine is extremely snappy because we're using the default virtualization technology in the Linux kernel, which is KVM. We're using Virt Manager QEMU. The virtual machine is AMD 64. The host machine is AMD 64. My CPU is not used that much. It's using the best virtualization technologies possible in the sense of the network interface card, VirtIO, and virtual hard disk also of type VirtIO. I can resize the window and copy paste of text works correctly. And even YouTube works correctly. If you want to play back videos inside the virtual machine, that also works. And again, in the configuration, when we have started the virtual machine, we said that the sound should be taken from the virtual machine and played back on the hardware machine, on the host machine. And you can also connect remotely. Maybe you have 3 different hardware machines. The virtual machine is hosted on machine 1, and you want from the hardware machine 3 to connect to the virtual machine. By using FreeRDP, you will be able to do this. Let's check that copy-paste works correctly. So we don't have a web browser yet. Let's configure a bit the system. So we want console to be add to favorites. Kate console system settings looks okay. Let's install Firefox. Parkman -uppercase S Firefox. 1/4 GB install size, but download size just 76 MB. And it's already pinned to the icon only task manager in KDE Plasma 6 in the main panel. So the web browser again is really snappy. It's as if you would use a remote machine, and you use a ton of remote machines. But this is a virtual machine. It's incredibly fast for me. Okay, let's now see if copy paste of text works. Let's copy a bit of text from the virtual machine. Does work. And does work the other way around. So this was it. This was how to install currently the latest version of the Linux operating system Arch Linux. We're using the default text user interface installer, which is called archinstall. Why do we use that? In order to install faster the operating system. There's an alternative described in the Arch Linux manual on how to install without using archinstall. But then archinstall is safer, and if you're following the exact same steps that I followed, you will have the default intended installation of KDE Plasma 6. No extra packages, the theming will work okay, KDE Plasma will work okay, everything is going to be installed as intended. And this operating system is going to be easier to support. If something doesn't work, then it doesn't work for many people. It's easier for you to reproduce issues. It's easier for KDE developers to reproduce issues that you have if you can reproduce them in such a vanilla machine. Again, installed from scratch in a virtual machine, in a very simple virtual machine, the default one in Linux, and using the archinstall. And then inside archinstall, we have selected the default KDE Plasma installation. The only additional changes that we did was to make the RDP server work correctly, which means we have the OpenSSH server was already installed. We have enabled the systemd service. We have installed some packages, the KDE Plasma X11 session, YAY, xrdp, xorg xrdp, and then we have configured a number of configuration files. So install YAY, xrdp, xorg xrdp from AUR, and edit two pages, two files, plain text files. This one as the user root, and this one as the user that we have created during the installation of Arch Linux. And then from there on, you can connect to the virtual machine in two different ways: text user interface mode using the SSH client, or graphical user interface mode using WL3RDP or X3RDP with a very long command line. But the command line is documented. It's easy for you to just copy paste it. So this is it. Thank you.